Hello and good evening and welcome to a special program on NewsX brought to you by 1xBet. In the 25th match of the World Cup, Sri Lanka successfully bowled out defending champions England for a total of 156 runs. Sri Lanka has a target of 157 runs to secure the victory. England, having won the toss and elected to bat at the Chinnaswamy Stadium, Bengaluru, struggled as they were out at 33.2 overs. Ben Stokes was the highest scorer for England with 43 runs, while John Bairstow continued 30 runs and David Malan scored 28 runs. Loharu Kumar, the Sri Lankan fast bowler, took 3 wickets, and Kasun Rajitha, Angelo Matthews each secured 2 wickets each, while Mahesh Tegesna, tongue twister, carried 1 wicket. England innings faced consistent setbacks following an average start in the power play. Sri Lanka's fast bowlers dominated, and by the 30th over, England had reached 137 runs for the loss of 7 wickets. The Sri Lankan fielders displayed some excellent catches. While the English batsmen struggled with their shot selection, Ben Stokes played a crucial inning, scoring 43 runs at the defending champions. Well, joining me are 3 important guests right now. Mr. Rajkumar Sharma, the internationally acclaimed coach of Virat Kohli. We have Tasmin Granger and John Wright, who joins us from London. I'll come to John Wright a little later, but first is Mr. Rajkumar Sharma. Mr. Sharma, did we foresee this? Did we discuss this in the morning and said, can this be the return ticket to England?
Yeah, Sunil rightly said, in the morning we were discussing the same thing, that England is not playing to its potential. Their middle order is looking very shaky. And it has happened again, in this particular game also. So I think if they lose today, they stand no chance now to qualify for semi-final. And that would be very tragic because they are the defending champions, and a lot was expected from them, that they have started playing very aggressive cricket, and the world should follow their style of cricket. But unfortunately, they have failed so badly that now other people will say that we were right, we didn't follow their policy of playing so much of aggressive cricket.
Sir, as someone who's watched all your life, you've played and watched 50 overs ODI. So what went wrong with England, as you see from the technical point, the tactical point where you come in? What went wrong with these guys?
Look, Sunil, I think they are in a mold of playing T20 cricket too much, and hundreds also. So, I mean, they really lack application to play a 50 overs long inning. And it is something very, surprising that they have people like Joe Root, who is such a brilliant player in Test cricket, and still he is not contributing a lot, He's capable of scoring big runs. But unfortunately, he has also not been among the runs. So, they are trying it too hard, I believe. And once the team goes down, and it is the duty of the coach and the captain to lift the morale, which is not happening. And I think they have lost all the hope now.
Well, Tasneem, just deconstruct the overall power play, the 11 to 40th over and 40th to 50th over, just for our viewers. And welcome to the show.
Thank you, and a good evening to you all. I would love to deconstruct the 11 to 40th over, but unfortunately, England didn't get that far. They were all out in 33.2 overs, and for me, it just seems like they never really got going from the start. Besides Johnny Bairstow with 30 runs at the top, as well as David Malan, besides the two of them, Ben Stokes had to wait a while to come in and actually try and rebuild things. We've seen Stokes get put down on one occasion, and I think from there he just thought to himself, you know what, so be it. I'm just trying to go about it and rebuild the innings. Is not working for me. I'm going to revert to my national game, that's hitting the ball. So in their first 10 overs, they scored 59 runs for the loss of 2 wickets. Already, that put them on a bit of a back foot, because they were 2 people at the top that they actually been there rooting for. Joe Root, we've seen him come to the party maybe 1 game so far in this World Cup, and it's just not adding up for England. I'm not sure where they left their recipe book at this World Cup, but it just doesn't seem to be making sense for them. They're failing to click, they're failing to gel, and they can't seem to get off to a positive start.
John, my friend John from London, he's a sports management consultant and also a podcaster. John, you've been critically watching and we've been discussing it for a year and a half. Suddenly it's too much, it's like the Queen song, too much love will kill you if it happens inside, caught between the lover and the love you believe behind. I mean, it's too much of hundreds and too much of T20 that kills you, and it has already killed you anytime. Tell me, what do you have to say about that?
Well, I think we saw this coming. The only thing that's disappointing is that Sri Lanka in this tournament up to now have been very, very disappointing, especially with the ball. This is a real low for England in this tournament to get skittled out for such a cheap score. But I think we've seen it coming. England's win rate in the last 2 years in ODI cricket has only been like 50, just over 50%. You know, we're long past the days of Owen Morgan when England used to chase down everything. There's something not right in the camp. I take the guys' views that I think T20 cricket has got a lot to do with it. England don't play enough ODI cricket, but the application with the batting has been very, very poor. So only 3 England batsmen in the squad have scored over 100 runs in the tournament. And when you look at South Africa, we got Quinton de Kock's got over 400, and 3 other batsmen have got over 250. England haven't got the runs. I mean, in the past, England would have runs on the board. Their bowling in subcontinent is not good enough, but you'd expect them to compete with the bats, and they haven't. It's been a terrible campaign, and I worry about them in Lucknow in the next game. Even though they're probably going to be out now, I think on a turning pitch in Lucknow, they could be embarrassed by India. India could now possibly go through the tournament unbeaten. I'd struggle to see where England could get a win at Lucknow.
Well, is this the most embarrassing win for England in the last 4 years, considering they're the defending world champions? In fact, there was quite a controversy amongst the fans when he said, we are not the defending world champions, we are the aggressive world champions. Your views?
Yeah, well, we're world champions by name only. We're not subcontinent world champions. I mean, we haven't got enough players in the squad that play well in subcontinent cricket, and that's the bottom line. You know, David Malan, Root, you know, you're looking for those guys to go deep. And we've seen with the other teams, you know, players been getting over 150s. You know, the application's there to bat the 35, 40 overs. There's something not right with this England team at the moment. They've chopped and changed. In the previous game against South Africa, they decided to dispense with all the all-rounders. In this game, they brought all the all-rounders back, and it hasn't worked on both occasions. They've been embarrassed in both games. So I think England are an all-time low, and I struggle to see where they go. I think they're going to need a massive reset after this World Cup. I think there'll be huge retirements. And I think, you know, 2020...
Very interesting point. John, I'll have to interrupt you here. You made a very interesting point of building the innings for 40 overs. I'd like to get in our star coach here and ask him, sir, is it the overconfidence or is it failing to put applications of basic things of putting a partnership? Mr. Rajkumar Sharma, if you can hear us, is it the problem of putting 10 overs, 20 overs, 30 overs and then 40 to 50 overs? I mean, have they got that basics wrong, sir, in your opinion?
I believe it is lack of planning and lack of application. Both the things are there, Sunil. It looks a lack of application because they are not applying themselves. I mean, it is very strange that they are not able to play 40 overs. This is not acceptable for a world-class team like England. So I think it is totally a lack of application, lack of planning, and you are going just playing rash shots, not bothering about your wicket. And I mean, how it can happen that you are not able to play even 40 overs, and that too against Mino's Sri Lanka. Nothing against Sri Lanka, but they have also not done very well in this tournament. And so I think if you are struggling against Sri Lanka also, so I think it is totally lack of application.
Sir, lack of application is one thing. The other thing is, just look at the Afghan coach. Is a former English player who played till recently, 10 years ago, last decade, he was a part of it. Chris Silverwood is the coach of Sri Lanka. He was, of course, a part of the 2005 Ashes series win, the fast bowler, and he keeps it very simple. Do you somewhere, England has exported the best brains out of their country, and they're importing the women coaches from Australia and other parts of the world. Your views, very honest, not taking away from any acclaim and the work that they've done. Your views, sir?
Yeah, it is very strange. As I said in the previous show also, that England had always had very good coaches. They have got legends. and who could really help the team. But unfortunately, they have gone to other countries to help other countries, and now England is importing the coaches, from different part of the world.
Well, absolutely. Very well said, sir. As you get your breath back, we'll go back to Tasneem. Tasneem, just tell us about the standing. What is the team standing right now, and where will it leave us in the next, after this match? Do you foresee England still to be at the back of it? And if you're ready, you can just nod and I'll take that question. Yeah, talk about the standing right now, where we are.
So currently England were sitting at number 8 ahead of their start in today's match, but it's definitely not looking the greatest for them. The only reason why they are ahead of Bangladesh as well as Netherlands is because of their net run rate. But after scoring a total that they've scored today, they're definitely going to find themselves dropping below those teams on the log, even if those teams don't fail to gain one more win. Again, one thing you must realize is today they only scored 68 runs for the loss of their last 5 wickets in 16 overs. So they never really got going at all today. They never really managed to stamp their authority as the defending champions in any way for me today, So personally, they're not going anywhere anytime soon. Their net run rate is not helping them in any way. Another thing to consider is the games that are left behind for the likes of Bangladesh as well as Netherlands to come as well in the tournament.
Well, absolutely. I'd like to go on to John Wright right now. John, do you realize the gravity of situation? You have the world champion who comes into this tournament, doesn't win sufficient, and is languishing at the bottom of the pool. Realize the situation. If they are on the 9th or the 10th spot, they'll have to go and play the qualifications. You know how it hurts? I've spoken to Cliff Silverwood prior to this World Cup, and he was devastated. He said Sri Lanka, the World Cup champions, and they're now playing the qualifiers at Zimbabwe. And he said, we've got to come back, to pull ourselves back. But if this was to go down, what do you think the stock of the English cricket would come down on this?
Well, I think it's just a realisation of where they are at the moment. I mean, let's not forget, England won the World Cup in 2019 at home. They were the best side going into that tournament, and they still lost 3 games and were very, very lucky to win the World Cup. Won it in a super over on a boundary count in conditions that suited them. So let's not get carried away with England and England's performances in the subcontinent. England's performances in the subcontinent have been very, very poor. Okay, they've done well in Pakistan in Test match cricket, but on the whole, it's been quite poor. So I think it's just a realisation of where England are at the moment. They've got a lot of players in that side who are 30 plus. They're not going to be around for the next World Cup in 2027. So I think it's important that the England management, now whether Mott, he's in charge then, I'm not too sure, but the ECB needs to have a reset. They need to have a reset, and they need to put someone in charge that plans for the next 4 years. Now, if England need to have to pre-qualify for next World Cup, I don't think that's a bad thing. I don't think that's a bad thing at all, because they should pre-qualify quite easily with the players they've got at their disposal. But I think it's the application that's been lost in this tournament.
Well, I'd like to go back to Mr. Rajkumar Sharma. Sir, before we let you go, because you have a coaching assignment as well. Sir, I'm going to ask you the final question. Imagine a situation, a World Cup winning team 4 years prior is going and playing the qualification rounds at the World Cup. Did you foresee this coming? Even at the worst of its time, even the West Indies took at least a couple of decades to go down. England has made a massive down progress at the bottom.
Yeah, you rightly said, it was not at all expected from England that they will stoop to this level, And being a defending champions, I think you think always that at least they will qualify for the semi-finals. But playing qualifiers, I mean, this is disgusting and, not acceptable from a world champion team. So I think they have to be blamed for themselves for their, poor showings.
Absolutely. We're talking about the land of Bob Willis, Ian Botham, Ben Stokes, who's certainly playing here, and they are certainly going there. We thank Mr. Rajkumar Sharma as he has to continue with his coaching the young kids. At the same time, we'll move our focus to Georgie Heath, one of the most erudite English women who talks about the English women's cricket. Let's hear it from her on where do you think England's campaign most needs to recover? It's not that the runs haven't been scored. Could it be Butler's captaincy that is misfired? Let's hear it from Georgie. Yeah, if you can join us.
It's quite difficult to just blame it all on one thing and say, yes, it's Josh Butler's captaincy. He even admitted after the game the other day they shouldn't have gone out and fielded first in that game. It was absolutely obscene. It was almost inhumane. I mean, I don't know how they managed to field in those kind of conditions, but obviously it was a little bit of a struggle. And then South Africa posting such a massive total, they knew they were going to go and have to fire really quickly from the beginning with the bat. And when they're that exhausted, literally Marcus Trescothick was running laps trying to get fluids, trying to get electrolytes into them. So that obviously was a very big issue before they'd even started playing in their game against South Africa. Now they need to just put that one to the side, understand where they made those mistakes, and they've got to push forward. And today is a new day, new game. Sri Lanka, completely new opponents, and they're going to have to go out and play like the England that they have been over the last 8 years, or they're flying home.
Georgie, it's always a pleasure and an honour having you on our show. Now we go on to another female voice, Tasneem. Tasneem, you're a current player as well. What do you think is going wrong, and at the same time, do you think they'll be able to recover from here if you're a player here?
Personally, it's hard to say what exactly is going wrong for them. It's not seeming to be. You can't pinpoint exactly and say, look, I think it's their top order, it's their middle order. They just haven't come to the party for me. I'm not sure if it's from a point of arrogance or confidence, be it that it's the ego, or they came into this underestimating opposition. And for me, coming from a nation that's constantly, we've been at the bottom of the food chain for a while, something to realize is teams are getting better as time goes on. Teams are shipping players out. Teams are giving their players the experience around the country. And probably England, like a lot of it has been mentioned, is they have the 100 leagues, they have WBBL, they have IPL. And that may be what they're relying on too much, and not maybe getting as much county cricket in as they used to. Because you find county cricket right now is currently being dominated by a lot of foreign international players coming from out of the country to play the county season in England. So it could be a problem in terms of will they bounce back? Maybe it's too late for them right now in this
Absolutely. Maybe it's too late. Tasneem, we'll just have to shift our focus before we wrap up the show. John, is it going the way like your EPL is going? You've got the best players in the world coming and playing football in England. But when it comes to the World Cup, England and the Hurricane and the Southgate, they can't even make it to the finals. Do you think this is worse than what the football is? Your views, very brutal, honest views.
I think the ECB needs to have a little reset. I mean, the 100, it's debatable whether that's been a success. It's probably been a success for women's cricket. Whether it's been a success for the whole of the England county structure is very much debatable. We don't play enough domestic 50-over cricket in the country. A lot of our players are being pulled away to franchises. They're playing global franchises throughout the world. So I think England needs to have a big reset on everything, the whole county structure, and where they see it going forward. Because at the moment, it's not working. The calendar's too dense, and the global franchises around the world are taking up their space. So we're not playing enough 50-over cricket to be competitive at the highest level.
Well, we've had, before we wrap up, where do you go from here? John, I wanted to ask you, considering England is losing tonight, it's languished at the bottom of the table. It's actually at the bottom of the food chain right now. They have no choices. And when they face India, the Indians are going to be brutal because they realize what happened 4 years ago. So where does England go from here? And we'll wrap the show from there.
Well, I think England needs to get a little bit of pride back. They've still got to play India and look now, and they've still got to play Australia. And Australia are really resurging after a stuttering start to this tournament. I think England needs to show a bit of gumption, a bit of pride, and show it. Even if they get beat by India, just show a good competitive performance. Because in the last two games, the game against South Africa, they weren't competitive at all. They've made some terrible decisions, and I just think they need to be competitive. So I'd like to see England, go out this tournament with some sort of success and compete against India in Lucknow and Australia in the latter stage, even though they're definitely out of the tournament. Well,
on that little bit of slight optimism, we wrap up our show. Thank you, my guest, for joining us. That's all we had time for. Keep watching NewsX.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.